In the one game that I thought Colorado was going to be favored, they're almost touchdown underdogs. What is happening?
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I'm your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to like, subscribe, follow. That way we can keep our jobs. We can keep having some fun. Joining me today is probably the most fun guy in the network, Mountaineer Paul. He does a great job over there at Locked On West Virginia. Paul, I mean, this game is not what I think any of us expected. Colorado's 3-6, West Virginia's 3-6, and in a way, there's a chance that they could both get to a bowl game, which we'll talk about a little bit later. We're going to be talking about why Colorado's an underdog. I kept saying all year, I was like, this is the one game they'll be favored. And lo and behold, they are 6.5-point underdogs. So Eden Crow again. Who's in the better spot? We'll talk about that as well. And then both teams, although it's been like just a constant kick in the nards, they have freshman quarterbacks who I think both programs are excited about. So, Paul, thanks for joining. Let's dive right into it. Why on earth West Virginia Mountaineers favored over the Colorado Buffaloes?
They took their jobs. That's what I was thinking of when you started. We keep our jobs if you hit subscribe. I think, the biggest reason is, number one, you're probably your best defenders out for the first half, right? Like that's something. It's at least a piece of it. You're banged up at corner. Yeah. You're starting a true freshman in his first start, right? Yeah. So we already went through that. And I think you're just a couple weeks behind where we were a couple weeks ago in a lot of ways, where we were playing really bad. And then we played this freshman quarterback and he figured it out, right? So it's just like we talked about it yesterday on my show, two teams trending different directions. West Virginia played really well against TCU, probably should have won the game. And then they beat Houston, who had been really good coming into that. And you guys have been kind of blown out in your last couple of games. And just and it's funny. I was just on another guy's show that also covers Colorado. And he was like, I had players texting me, asking me about the coverages and stuff and saying that maybe the coaches didn't know the coverages or something along those lines. And I was like, what? That sounds crazy. Like, surely the coaches know the coverages. He's like, I'm telling you, they told him the wrong coverages. And he played college football. Just a point about, like, things aren't really well right now over in Colorado land. And I don't know why, but I think there's many reasons. Pat Shurmur's not calling the plays anymore. Like, you can list them off. There's a reason you guys are maybe more should be more underdogs. I don't know, but like I said all week, I don't know if it'll be a blowout like some people are saying, but I understand why we're favored.
Yeah, and I don't think any of that's unfair, right? Colorado, if you would have asked me like 3 months ago, like, do you think this Colorado team is going to be 3-6 heading into the final week of the season? I probably would have said no. I wasn't as high on this team as many others were. There was a lot of 8-9 win predictions out there. I think I settled in at 7-5, 6-6. And my 7-5 prediction is not really possible anymore mathematically, but 6-6 is still on the table. But at this point in the year, Paul, it feels like 6-6 for Colorado would be like, I won't say a miracle.
Miracle. It would be almost a miracle.
It would be like, okay, we're like, get the movie ready because we figured some stuff out, right? Like, get the film ready. It's just been punch after punch. You talked about how shallow Colorado is at quarterback just yesterday, excuse me. The injury report came out, the updated injury report, and I don't even know who Colorado's going to turn to at corner. Like, we're going to be seeing some guys who haven't played at all or haven't played since like the first week of the season, right? At corner, you're going to be missing RJ Johnson, who had been out like most of the season already. You're going to be also without Makari Vickers, the Oklahoma transfer, who's had some bright moments. And then DJ McKinney, who is arguably their best corner, one of the better corners in the Big 12. He's doubtful, right? So Colorado is banged up all over the place. I think they already were lacking confidence. And I think you could see that even from the outside perspective, like you mentioned earlier, where it's like you give up 105 points in back-to-back weeks. Like, what is there to hang your hat on, right? It's kind of one of those things. And so the odds makers know what's happening. It wouldn't shock me, and I want to get your thoughts on this, because right now it's at 6.5 at the time we're recording. Final injury report comes out tomorrow. It wouldn't shock me if West Virginia jumps up to like 8.5, 9.5 point favorites. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, probably. It's probably going to happen. Especially since you're not starting Caden Salters. It's going to be on the road. Our fans, one thing about West Virginia fans is we're going to probably pack our stadium, even though we haven't been great.
Yeah.
Coming off a ranked win, there should be some excitement. And it's Deion Sanders still. So as you guys know, the circus kind of travels with him, bad for better, for worse for the team. And that environment's going to be interesting tomorrow, because we can get 60, 65,000 in there at points. It depends on how big the game is. But, right around 60K, and that's like a Lavelle Edwards or Rice Eccles, type environment, and it can be really tough to play in. So how does Juju handle that? How does this, all happen in real time for that kid? Because it's going to be an intense situation. I think West Virginia is going to play off of that. Zach Alley is the most multiple coordinator in the Big 12. He runs the most stuff. It's not even close. He blitzes 50% of the time. This is not a great matchup for a freshman quarterback to have to go against as far as the coordinator is concerned. Now, we've had our share of issues on defense this year, but it's not Zach Alley's fault. Brent Venables said, I'm going to take a step away from our defense and hire Zach Alley. That's how good Zach Alley is, right? So, and they jumped up 10, 15, 20 spots in some areas last year at Oklahoma, even though they only won 6 games. It wasn't for the defense. Because Rich Rod gave him his chance in college football. It's why he came back to be with Rich Rod. So I think it's going to be a lot of factors playing into that line, but least of the probably the most of which a freshman quarterback first.
Yeah. First career start and we've seen it throughout the year. Like not even freshman quarterbacks. So Arch Manning, first career road start at Ohio State, was absolutely rattled. Ty Simpson was making, I think it was first career start on the road in Tallahassee, right? That's tough. Bryce Underwood made his first career start against whoever Michigan played week 1, and it was not as good as you would have hoped, right? It turns out being a true freshman playing on the road is a little more difficult than you would imagine. And I think especially Colorado fans, they're like a very confident fan base. And you look ahead on the schedule a few months ago and you go, okay, West Virginia win, right? You're going through the weeks, and it's like, okay, now it's like West Virginia might embarrass us on national television for the 3rd week in a row. Like that's how much of a downfall.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so I think West Virginia deserves a whole lot more respect. I think the odds makers, they're already kind of hinting like, hey, this isn't the same West Virginia team from 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
No,
right?
we flipped it around pretty good.
Yeah. And so if you run into 2 teams that are like on the opposite trajectory, things might get a little dicey. And so we're going to talk about that. But first, a quick break. This episode of Locked on Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at DoorDash. Guess what? It's almost the weekend, so that means it's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. For Colorado, I got to go Juju Lewis. Right, there wasn't much to be happy with from the Arizona loss, but he delivered in a big way in the moments he had. He came in, threw a 59-yard touchdown right away, showed some leadership, which I think Coach Prime had been on him quite a bit about behind the scenes. So when the pressure was on, Juju came through. No hesitation, no delay. And if you've been watching Juju Lewis develop, you could tell that this performance wasn't necessarily a fluke. So just like Juju Lewis delivered for the Buffs, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday you order, stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. Welcome back to Locked on Buffs. It's Kevin Borba. It's Mountaineer Paul. We got that second segment due from Mr. Paul over here. Paul, it's a weird question to ask because if you look at both these teams on paper from like the average college football fan's perspective, it's like they both suck. Why do we care? And I don't think that could be further from the truth for West Virginia. So let's talk about who's in a better spot right now, as both teams are 3-6.
Mhm.
Both teams have a path to a bowl game. Now, I'm not going to pretend like it's an easy path for either, but they have a path and it's there. So who's in a better spot at this point in the year?
It's got to be us. I mean, you know, I think both teams have difficult games remaining on the schedule. I mean, you guys have the easier schedule remaining. You've got an Arizona State team that's certainly not the team we thought they were going to be. They're playing with Jeff Sims, I think, at quarterback. It's just not
Nebraska
the same
legend.
Team. Nebraska legend. Not to be confused with the Sims that was at Baylor a couple years ago.
No.
Blake Sims, is that what his name was?
Yeah.
So, but anyways, so they're not the same team. And then Kansas State, who really up and down year this year for them, but I mean, on a good day, they can blow anybody out.
Mhm.
So, but still, not the difficulty of ours, because we too have Arizona State remaining. It's funny, but then we have, unfortunately, that Texas Tech game that's the end of the year. So even if we do everything perfectly, you would have to err on the side of no bowl game for us, because it's got to be perfect, right? We have to win out. And I don't think that's going to happen. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to have a strong finish to the year. I mean, if you finish 3-1 down the stretch with wins over Houston, Colorado, and Arizona State, that's something to go into the year with and to build on for the next year. And look, speaking of that, West Virginia is definitely, I told you, I just had a 5-star offensive lineman call me because I made a mistake on my show earlier about him. But like, this is Rich Rod and company are using this momentum for players like that. Like, they're aiming and swinging for the most hype recruiting class I've ever seen at West Virginia. Multiple 4-star guys, a lot like what you guys did in Deion's first years with the big time recruits and all that.
Yeah.
But Rich Rod wants to go like 35, 38 deep in the high school ranks. We'll see if it works, but they're going to be going for the kind of kids that you pay in high school. There's like there's a cutoff, like 3-star guys usually don't pay, right? But like, once you get to a certain level of high school player, they get paid too, even though they've never played yet. And I think West Virginia is kind of fooling around in that territory.
Yeah. And I think you hit it on the head, right? Like, there's a difference between Colorado and West Virginia in a big way right now. Is like, West Virginia can go into the offseason, say they went 3-1 in their final 4 games. It's like, okay, damn, that was a great first year for Rich Rod. Now we're going to ride that momentum into early signing day next month. And then we're going to ride that momentum into the transfer portal the month after and fill the holes that we have. And then next year, it's like, is West Virginia sort of like a dark horse contender? Like, that's sort of what's at stake for you guys. Whereas Colorado, and this is painful to say, and I think I'll be called a hater, as I am every single day, but Colorado looks like they have given up. Like, it's honestly disappointing to see. Mercenaries is what Chad Brown. I wish you guys go check out that episode. My audio and video was terrible because my internet provider decided to take a what during my recording. But Chad Brown's internet was perfect, and I think he had the perfect take on a lot of what he was saying. He said that Colorado has a bunch of mercenaries right now, which are dudes who are just there for personal reasons to boost their own careers. And when things don't go right, you see you see them sort of check out. And I'm looking at this Colorado team, and it feels like they're fragile. It feels like a lot of them have checked out. It feels like the coaches don't all necessarily know how to put these guys in the right position. As you just said, the last segment with someone saying that they're being told by current players that the coaches don't know the coverages, which is not great. I mean, Paul,
it sounds hard to believe, doesn't it? I mean, I'm saying he's lying, but it just sounds so hard to believe.
Wait for this next fact I'm about to drop you with.
Oh, God.
Deion Sanders' staff. So I'll go through a handful of coaches, right? Pat Shurmur hasn't coached college football since 98. I was born in 99, so that's 27 years ago, right? Robert Livingston, defensive coordinator. I think he's probably the coach that's least on the hot seat, even though the disasters, I think it's just sort of a talent issue. I don't think he's getting the right guys, but he had never coordinated a defense before. He had only worked at the NFL level. The corners coach, Coach Mathis, he had never coached outside of with Deion Sanders. So he started at Trinity, went to Jackson with him, is now here, right? Linebackers coach, same thing, had never coached, went to Trinity with Coach Prime, went to Jackson, now at Colorado, right? Warren Sapp had never coached in his life. The defensive line coach, Coach Pecco, has never coached in his life. They picked him up fresh off of his NFL career. Like they were like, okay, come in now, coach, right? They have, I believe it's 5 to 6 guys who are at key coaching positions, excuse me, I don't know why that was hard to say, who have either never coached college football or their first experience was with Deion Sanders. And so I think we're starting
a lot.
I think we're starting to see the lack of experience on the coaching staff because when Deion Sanders had success at Jackson State, his rosters were they were borderline like group of 5 rosters. And so like that's far better.
And he had first round picks at quarterback, at wide receiver, at corner.
Exactly. So like he had the talent. He was just more talented. So like coaching, it was like it doesn't really matter. But now, and even last year, they had a first round talent quarterback. They had the number 2 overall pick, and then they had 3 other NFL receivers on the team, right? So they've just been talented. And I think right now we're seeing the coaching struggles. And the reason I bring this up is Rich Rod's in a better spot, assuming he can retain Zach Alley and everyone else, because they're going to have some cohesion going into next year. Colorado is going to limp to the end of the season. And then Coach Prime, assuming he's going to do what he needs to do, which Chad Brown also agreed with me, he needs to clean house. So now you're bringing in 5 to 7 new coaches. And it's like, are you going to hire the right guys? And I think that's a difficult position to be in.
You know, a fun thought experiment. So I'll go over some of the coaches on the West Virginia staff just to kind of contrast what you had been saying. Obviously, Zach Alley is young, but he's already been the defensive coordinator at Clemson and Jacksonville State and been under Venables for a decade. So, like, you know, you got Travis Trickett, who obviously is just been in the coaching game for years, guys. I mean, I think he started around 09-ish, somewhere like that. His dad is obviously the great Rich Trickett, one of the greatest offensive line coaches ever. Jack Bicknell Jr., who's coached offensive line at multiple NFL spots, Wisconsin, etc. Jeff Castile was our defensive coordinator. I'm not going to go through every coach, but Jeff Castile was our DC the first time around under Rich Rod and Dana Holgerson and all those guys. You know, hadn't had a lot of success. And then you get into guys like Larry Porter, who has been – you want to talk about Larry Porter? He has coached 4 Doak Walker Award-winning running backs in his career. Saquon Barkley, Marion Hampton, like he's coached a ton. So to my point, though, Rich Rod has surrounded himself with a staff full of just guys that have been around it forever, you know? So I think, you know, that can pay off at a certain point in the season because it's like a person on our media always says, Kevin, you're allowed to get better. It's okay. You can get better over the course of a year. You are what your record is, but you can also get better.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. And yeah, it's hard, right? If you don't have guys who are experienced around you, all the blame goes on you. And do I think Deion Sanders is to blame for all of this, all of the team struggles? Not necessarily, but I do think that he didn't put himself in a position to succeed by based on the people that he's associated with, right? Like he chose to hire these guys who are limited experience. He chose to hire a handful of guys who had never coached before. And so it makes it difficult, right? I would say right now, West Virginia is trending up and I would say Colorado's trending down. Now, because it's Deion Sanders, and I want people to stick with me here and not think I'm just taking a you-know-what in the program, Deion Sanders could easily turn this around within the matter of a couple weeks, like over the offseason, right? I talked about this with Chad Brown. He has, and I mean, West Virginia kind of has ties to this fellow as well. Nick Saban, ever heard of him? Yeah. Him and Coach Prime are really close friends. And do I think Nick Saban's going to take Colorado's defensive coordinator job? Absolutely not. Miss Terry won't allow it. But do I think Nick Saban could be somewhat of a consultant for Deion Sanders in building his staff?
He did it for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he should. And I think if you're Deion Sanders, if you're really serious about turning things around and sort of heading on that right trajectory, you have to lean on the people who can help you. And right now, I don't think he has the right people around him to help him. Whereas Rich Rod, as you mentioned, you probably have 2 or 3 future head coaches on that staff, right? Like let's just be real. There's probably a couple of those. And I don't think the same could be said about Colorado. So we're going to see who's really trending in the right direction this weekend, or at least who could trend in the right direction for a day. Let's talk freshman quarterbacks. But before we do, let's take a quick break. This episode of Locked On Bus is brought to you by our sponsors over at SupplyHouse. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, you got to get your crew moving forward with SupplyHouse. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service has always got your blind side covered. Myself, I'm a first-time homeowner. Guess what? Everything keeps breaking. It's the perk of being a homeowner, apparently. That's what everyone tells me. But you know who's been there for me? SupplyHouse. Their part finder tools and 3D schematics have saved me hours on jobs, and the details matter, and they take them seriously. So join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege for SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Yes, sir. This episode of Locked On Buffs is also brought to you by our new sponsor over at Doer. I've never been excited about jeans. Honestly, I'm not really a jeans guy. And that was till I slapped on a pair of Doers. So they're the most comfy jeans I've ever worn. They have 5 times the stretch of the traditional denim. So they're not – when it gets to the holiday season, you start to stuff your face a little bit. The jeans, they help you, right? Because it's like, okay, maybe I could go for that third plate of turkey and mashed potatoes, right? And they're made with Cool Max that regulates your body temperature and wicks moisture that keeps you cool and comfortable as temperature changes. Doer combines classic jean wear style with the kind of comfort and performance you get from athletic wear. It's the best of both worlds. Simply put, Doer makes the world's most comfortable most comfortable pants, without having to sacrifice style. Trust me, once you try these, they'll be your go-to. And you can check out the Doer store here in Denver. It's at 2621 Lemire Street. Pick up a pair for yourself or as for someone else for an amazing holiday gift. Mention my promo code LOCKEDONDenver in store to get 15% off your first order, or check them out online at shopduer.com/LockedOnDenver for 15% off. That's shopduer.com/LockedOnDenver. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. It's me, Kevin Borba, and Mountaineer Paul. Paul, freshman quarterback season, right? Scotty Fox has been at it for a few weeks now, and I think he's looked great.
He's a wily veteran.
You sent me a little Scotty Fox propaganda earlier in the day, and I loved it.
Did you see that? So that was impressive, wasn't it?
It is. He gets it, and he's probably 18, right? 19, whatever. Same thing with Juju Lewis. He's fresh out of high school. Should be getting ready for senior prom. Instead, he's preparing to play in one of the Big 12's most hostile environments. Excuse me. Walk me through what Colorado fans should expect from Mr. Fox.
Yeah, Scotty Fox, obviously dual threat, which a lot of quarterbacks are these days. He committed to the Neil Brown staff, which is interesting because he's tailor-made for the Rich Rod staff. Never really got to meet those coaches outside of the initial recruitment. Neil Brown was fired. Rich Rod kept him. You know, it's crazy. Rich Rod kept one of the best recruiting jobs I've ever seen, Kevin. I think we had something like 30, 34, 32, something like that, guys recruited or committed to the Neil Brown. They kept every single one after the coaching change. I had never seen that in my life until this past year. So, you know, but anyways, Scotty Fox, one of those guys, and it worked out. You know, he started out the year as a 5th string, 4th string, depending on what you asked. And then all of a sudden, West Virginia started losing. This is another reason why we're 3-6 attrition. We down to our 5th string running back. We're down to our 5th string quarterback. We brought in 81 new players, top 8 offensive linemen gone, right? So, you know, we eventually get, after we're through Nico Marchiol and Jalen Henderson and Max Brown, it's just been incredible. Khalil Wilkins started at BYU. Scotty Fox gets the nod, and he had played well early in the season in sparing touches. First touch he ever had was a 58-yard touchdown versus Robert Morris. So, you know, we knew that he had that ability to run, but he's actually even better as a passer. And I would say, you know, he's a good to very good runner, but not a lead or anything like that. He's a guy that can really hurt you. I liken him to like somebody you guys play this year, probably similar to a Haynes King type player who can run and hurt you. I know that's what they told me on the other show. Don't bring him up. So, but you know, from an arm talent perspective, that's where he changes. I sent you a link earlier. It's basically Scotty Fox last week against Houston. Houston has an elite corner. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but our receiver Cam Vaughn is the first read. It's supposed to be a quick throw. He gets jammed at the line of
Latrell McCutcheon, right?
Latrell McCutcheon, yeah. Yes.
Yep.
He jams Cam Vaughn at the line, and that's his first read. And most freshmen are running at that point. Instead, he flips his hips around to the second read, which is a post coming across the middle. And he, based on where the safety was, he knew he had one-on-one coverage. But by that time, Houston's defensive tackle had penetrated, and his hand was coming right in on his face. And so off platform, he throws a dot 55 yards down the field, and couldn't have been a more perfect throw, what you saw. It's just the overall picture that, okay, he was able to go through three progressions and throw off platform, read the safety, obviously, like a veteran. I mean, it's so great because he pauses, flips his hips, and makes the throw, just like you want to see it. And that is, we heard, like, I don't mean to ramble about him, but, earlier in the year, there was a couple guys that had come in from the portal on visits. And, obviously I'm having conversations with these guys as this is happening. And I'm like, well, what'd you think about it? This kind of thing. He's like, man, I know you were telling me earlier, because this one receiver, I was trying to tell him, like, Nico Marchiol. He's like, man, we didn't hear about Nico. We heard about this freshman Scotty Fox kid. And, like, this is the first rumblings I'd heard about him. And I had an offensive lineman like a month later say the same thing. He said, man, they're really high on this Scotty Fox guy. And then that happened another time. So they've known what they've had in him for a while. I just think they didn't think they'd have to need him this soon in his career. Probably wanted to redshirt him, but it's been so far pretty great. I mean, to throw for 300 yards in your first start against a power forward defense when you don't have 30 dropbacks, and he was throwing guys open. He was throwing guys before they make their breaks on balls, like things you just don't see out of freshmen.
Yeah.
So, he's either going to continue at this pace and continue to get better and be just really good, or he's going to have a day where maybe he falls back into freshman mistakes. I'm really curious to see what he does.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with being excited about a true freshman quarterback, because Colorado's in the same exact boat. And similar to Scotty Fox, Julian Lewis didn't put up like crazy numbers against Arizona, but comes in, hits a 59-yard touchdown right away. And he played with some decisiveness that we hadn't seen since Shedeur Sanders was here, which feels like ages ago now. But when you sit through a season of Caden Salter and Ryan Staub sort of just not being able to make the best plays all the time, like Juju Lewis came in and was decisive. And he's not throwing little lollipops to people. He's humming that thing in there, right? He's
got it on.
He does, right? And like I think my favorite throw of his was his last throw against Arizona, because it was a little hitch route, probably like just guys running to the first down marker, and guy turns around, ball's in his chest already, right? And there was a game against, I think it was BYU or TCU, one of the two. Caden Salter had two guys open, looked off both of them, and then ended up, I think, just throwing it away or getting sacked. And the camera pans to Deion Sanders, and he's like, he was open, right? And Julian Lewis has taken the open guy as a true freshman. And so I'm excited to see what a full week of reps with the ones looks like for Julian Lewis. And I'm excited to see how that translates, because, unfortunately, he sort of had been buried on the depth chart, and to no fault of his own. Like I said this earlier, he was 17, should be getting ready for taking the SAT or going to prom. And instead he's like trying to learn a college system and like learn how to play at this speed. And I think there's some pros to reclassifying, and there's also some cons. And I'm glad that we're going to get to see him, because there's been some guys, like I covered Stanford a while ago, and there's a guy, his name is Miles Jackson, who reclassified early out of school, out of I think it was Long Beach, is still yet to play, right? He reclassified, didn't work out. JT Daniels is kind of like, I would say JT Daniels and Quinn Ewers, which West Virginia legend JT Daniels, are sort of like the cautionary tales, or like maybe the bright sides of like what can happen, right? Because it's like it could go either way, right? Reclassifying is always risky business. And so I'm glad Colorado didn't throw him into the fire when it wasn't necessary. And I'm glad we're getting to see him this weekend. So, Paul, before we go, hit me with a prediction. Or you don't have to give score. I hate giving scores, but game prediction, if you will.
Yeah, I like West Virginia to win the game.
Okay.
I think it's going to be, I won't give a score, but I think that, I predicted it to be within 7 to 10 points. I think a lot of people are predicting this to be a blowout. I don't see it that way. And maybe they'll surprise us. Maybe they really are going vastly different directions.
Mhm.
West Virginia won one game. Anybody
Yeah.
can win one game. Even the worst team in the league can win one game, right?
Mhm.
So I just don't want to get in over my skis on West Virginia so much. We played really well. Should have beat TCU. We definitely beat Houston and handily at that. We led that game by multiple scores multiple times.
Yeah.
I just want to see us do it again. If we do it again, I'll start to buy in a little more.
Okay. I like that. Paul, excuse me. Do you think Colorado fans want the good news or the bad news first from me?
Definitely the bad news, so you can end with the
Okay.
good news, and that way they can't call you negative.
Okay. Bad news. I think Colorado loses this game. The good
Yeah.
news, I've predicted Colorado would win their past 2 games, and I've been wrong. So, I mean, let me just put that out there. I think Colorado loses.
They won't remember the times you picked them, though. They only remember the times you picked against them.
Right. And so hopefully like this anti-jinx thing comes full circle and like I just got to go with the opposite of my gut apparently. So
Yeah.
Paul, I appreciate you coming on. Tell the people where they can find you.
Locked On West Virginia. So Locked On West Virginia, just like Kevin here, daily content on the West Virginia Mountaineers. That's what we do. And I just started a new thing, like I said, but definitely check out Locked On West Virginia.
Yeah, we're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Both of us will probably be going live directly after the game tomorrow. Hoping for a nice result. Hope everybody has fun. That's what I want. I want everybody to have fun and nobody wins. We just end a tie and we just ride off into the sunset with good vibes. No, but in reality, we'll be going live talking about what went right, what went wrong. Appreciate all you guys for making the show possible, and I will see you guys tomorrow.